Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on the world of big data. Today my guest is from Birst. We have Southard Jones. He is the VP of Product Strategy at the company. So Southard, welcome to the show today.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thanks for coming on. What I thought we'd do is let's go through your slide deck, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Sounds great. So I'll go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about today is the Birst Recurring Revenue Solution Accelerator. It's a new product offering from Birst. And I'm going to jump right into a quick Birst introduction and then go into the product offering. The big problem that just about every company out there faces today is there's probably something they do better than anything else, better than the product that they produce or the way they treat their employees. They manufacture data, lots of it. And the reason why that's a big challenge is because the goal is to amplify that data to drive business returns. Building out that slide, the goal here is you can either rely on all the data that you have to help you make business decisions, or you can run your business based on intuition hunches. And most people believe that by making data-driven decisions, they can earn a lot more money and increase their returns to their shareholders. So I'm not telling you anything most people don't know, but going to the next slide, historically, the options and the tools available to folks to do this fell along two different axes. You could choose a traditional BI solution that gave you all of the strength and capabilities you could ever imagine to analyze that data and slice and dice it in many different ways and every piece of data you ever find in your business. However, the challenge that those folks who deployed those found is that you didn't quite have the agility to move at the pace of business today. It took 9 months to turn the things on. If you ever wanted to make a change, it could take an additional 3 months just to make that change. So imagine being a product manager trying to make a decision on whether or not to launch a product or how something's performing and asking a second or third level question and having to wait 3 months for an answer. That was unacceptable. On the other axis, you get what might be referred to as data discovery or visualization vendors. And they solved that agility problem. They gave that product manager the ability to answer those questions very fast. However, they were tapped out a little bit in terms of ability to get data across the entire enterprise, as well as answer even harder questions. The product manager might be able to answer the question of which of my customers bought product A but didn't buy product B. But then they ask the second level question is, which one of those customers that bought product A that didn't buy product B but not during the Thanksgiving holiday, and what were the characteristics of those who did do that? That's a second and third level question that the discovery solutions have not been able to provide those business users. What Birst is doing is bridging the gap between those, bringing together the power and ability that you've seen in a traditional BI solution with the agility of what you found in data discovery capabilities. So who are we? We're an enterprise-caliber BI platform born in the cloud. Today, over 4,000 different organizations rely on Birst across a wide variety of verticals to amplify their data, to build analytic applications with their data, to make smarter decisions. The founding members of this organization came from Siebel Analytics, one of what is now Oracle Business Intelligence. They saw and felt the pain that customers felt firsthand with actually not being able to be agile enough. So the whole concept behind Birst was to take all the strength and power there, wrap into a single code base, and provide the agility that you could get for those people in the cloud. We've been growing quite rapidly, and we've received a number of accolades in the industry, consistently recognized as being the #1 cloud BI provider in the market. And we had our rookie debut, if you will, into the Magic Quadrant, the Gartner Magic Quadrant. As far as we can tell, it's the first time ever in the Gartner Magic Quadrant history that a rookie debuts in the Challengers Quadrant. And what we take great pride in is not necessarily that positioning, but the fact that our customers ranked us amongst all of the little folks, the 38 different people that participate in that Magic Quadrant, #1 overall in product functionality, software support, and sales experience. And that's what the difference is between Birst and many other solutions is, our success rates in BI projects, we aim them to be 100%. We are very close to doing that, and it differs greatly from what you see in the rest of the BI industry. Going to the next slide, the folks that rely on Birst are across a wide variety of industries. These are folks in enterprise, large companies like AT&T, Dun & Bradstreet, $9 billion semiconductor companies like Renesas. There are folks in the mid-market that are insanely rapidly growing, highly successful companies like Jive and Build.com. And then there are folks who are embedding Birst inside of their applications, folks like OpenText, to provide that analytics to their customers, to their software. So jumping into the announcement for today. What are we announcing today? At the start of this presentation, I talked about the fact that the goal of taking that data is amplifying it, taking all of your data and turning it into an analytic application that drives business value. What we've seen in our customer base and across the market is that more and more businesses, I think it's close to 42% of the businesses, are either a subscription-based revenue model or trying to get there. That's because the market is giving inordinate multiples and returns to companies that are able to maintain recurring revenue. Our Birst ability to amplify that type of business is what we're announcing today. We'll show you that in a second. And we're going to continue to expand our BI platform capabilities to deliver these prepackaged solutions and these analytic applications for folks who have specific needs. So let's talk a little about recurring revenue business. It is different than other businesses. You typically exert a lot of cash to acquire a customer, and you don't make that money back from that customer for some time because they're paying you as they go. And therefore, you talk about things like customer acquisition costs, where you have negative cash flow, if you will, until maybe a year into the relationship with that customer. You think about the fact that if you are running a business that has negative cash flow with an individual customer until 12th month, that means you need to maintain that customer through a long period of time to make money as a business. So the metrics you see on this slide here is how does a recurring revenue business think about running their business? They talk about cost-effectively winning new customers. They talk about maintaining those customers and monetizing those customers. And that is the difference between a recurring revenue business and a one-and-done type business. So going on to the next slide, addressing key challenges. What are some of the challenges that a recurring revenue business may face? The first is, where do I invest to win my new customers? I still am in a customer acquisition business, but I need to spend only so much that I know I can make the money back as soon as possible. So how do I go find the market? So you need to answer questions about what's the fastest I can grow my new bookings based on a number like CAC, customer acquisition cost, yet at the same time minimizing the churn I may have. They're looking at things like customer lifetime value, because that's the key metric to drive profitability, and they're doing that through a cohort type analysis. Going through the builds, the next point might be, how do I reduce my time to recover that CAC? If I can recover a customer acquisition cost within 6 months versus 12 months, I'm basically doubling the profitability of my business. So that is reducing the bottleneck between the very time I try to acquire that customer, the raw contact, all the way to the point that they're paying me cash. It's a long process, and there's lots of different steps in place where things can go wrong. How do you analyze that whole process across multiple different systems in one place? And lastly, continuing to go to the slide, how do I manage my business to an IPO or to the next level in making this company incredibly successful? There are certain metrics and numbers that people think about in a recurring revenue business that are different than else. They talk about things like magic number. Just about every SaaS company out there knows what their magic number is. They talk about MRR, or monthly recurring revenue, what the growth of that is, what their new ACV, or annual contract values, their customer lifetime value. These are numbers you hear from folks who are thinking about recurring revenue, and they need to understand how to manage that effectively. What we are offering today is a Recurring Revenue Analytics Solution Accelerator. What that means is this is a pre-built application, if you will, on top of the Birst platform that offers best practices, reports, KPIs, dashboards. Essentially, if you're running NetSuite and Salesforce.com, which is the two pre-built connectors that come with this, you turn on Birst, you connect up to your solution, and you instantly get a number of reports and dashboards that will give you complete visibility into that magic number. Understand where your bottlenecks are in your total lead to cash process so they can remove those bottlenecks and improve your bookings velocity. You understand where the points are where you can increase your renewals and reduce that churn. So what you get out of the box, what you see on the slide, the recurring revenue analytics slide, There's a number of KPIs, attributes, measures that you can use to analyze your business and do ad hoc analysis on. It comes with a predefined fixed bid service offering that will get you up and live in 4 weeks. You may ask the question of, well, why does it take 4 weeks? And I'll tell you that every single customer customizes their Salesforce environment and the NetSuite environment. And while our recurring revenue business, they run their business just a little bit different than the other guy. So we recognize that, and we take that pre-built template and we customize it to the individual customer's needs. A reflection of that is we are going to expose and take in all the custom objects and fields from your Salesforce and NetSuite environment. We're going to allow you to, in fact, we're going to create them for you, custom attributes or measures that are specific to your business within this Recurring Revenue Solution Accelerator. Going on to the next slide. So for all the technical people on the call saying, well, that sounds great, but tell me really, truly, how does this thing work? What you have on the left is Birst Open Connector Framework, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a second, but we pull data from Salesforce and NetSuite, pre-built connectors to those applications to pull. We can expose every object, custom or not, and field in there, but we pull very specific ones into the Birst automated warehouse, and that's where we automate the creation of a best practice data model for all of those metrics that you're thinking about, or just talked about. And those are exposed through a logical model. The example would that be, go into NetSuite and show me the metric that says customer acquisition cost. It doesn't exist. In fact, for every business, it might be slightly different. That uniform logical model holds all that. Then through Birst front end, which is either dashboards, ad hocs, even pixel-perfect reports, even predictive analytics, will expose all of those metrics through those pre-built reports and dashboards. You can digest those metrics through either published reports on your mobile, embedded within an existing SharePoint application or within a Salesforce or NetSuite application, or even on your own, just within a browser itself. And you can even get that information in real time if you want. Going on to the last slide, as I mentioned before, Birst is an enterprise caliber BI platform that's built in the cloud, platform being the key piece of that. This Recurring Revenue Solution Accelerator is in addition to a number of other solution accelerators that Birst offers on top of its BI platform. There's one specifically for Salesforce.com around sales analytics. There's also an operational analytics one specifically on NetSuite, and there'll be some other ones coming. The typical Birst customer, while utilizes some of the solution accelerators, will connect to 5 to 10 different data sources utilizing the Birst platform. And then they are amplifying the data even further. So summarizing, this is an application that will help you handle all that massive amounts of data that you have across your different CRM, ERP, and marketing automation system to give you a complete visibility into your recurring revenue business with the key metrics that you need to drive successful growth. And that wraps up the conversation.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. So, a quick question on the genesis of this. Did you see a gap in the marketplace that people were having to cobble together their own solutions, or how did it start?
It's a great question. In fact, I'd say it was like many of the things. There's a couple different paths that lead to a single end goal. we're a recurring revenue business ourselves. We're at Birst, and we had developed reports and dashboards to run our business. This is what we were showing our board. This is what, as a member of the management team, this is what we look at on a weekly basis. And our CEO and I talked about it, and that was great. And it was great, and we were very successful in our Birst, and our board was very happy about it. But the ironic thing was I went to Jive and talked to them, and they were doing the exact same thing. And I go to some other customers like OpenDNS and other recurring revenue businesses, and they're doing almost the exact same thing. And I thought, this is a trend, and other businesses like that should be able to have the same power. And anyone who's running Salesforce and NetSuite and thinking about things from a recurring revenue perspective, there's a lot of similarity across how they run their business. So that it was kind of a genesis of a number of companies that kind of think and act the same way using Birst gave us this idea.
Yeah, and I was talking to some folks a couple weeks ago. I did a talk on big data, and we were talking about churn in telcos, and how one subscriber, if they're influential, can cost them a ton of money if their friends and their followers follow suit, right? They can this can be a lot of revenue to these companies. Can Birst help them with that in that kind of insight?
It's a great question. It would be an obvious, logical extension of the existing recurring revenue, the solution Accelerator talked about, would be, well, let's understand who are the customers that are churning, and then utilize Birst to analyze the social data that shows how big of an influencer they are, right? You can look at, we can analyze a lot of that data and show who the biggest influencers are. Then you can target your customers that you want to keep. Maybe offer them things that are, put them in different segments. The high influencer ones, you give them special offers to reduce their churn. Yeah. And that is a perfect example of amplifying all that massive amount of data.
Yeah. And as far as your announcement here, this current announcement, would you characterize it as more of an augmentation of what you had, or is it more of a leap forward for the customers?
I think I would characterize this as as an augmentation. But I would say again, you think about Birst as a platform, as a BI platform. The majority of our customers are creating their own analytic applications that are specific to their business, and what Birst set out to do is enable them to do that. And what we've realized is there is common ground for a lot of people, and we will continue to reduce that time to value and make it faster for people to be able to get insight. And the Solution Accelerator follows along with the Birst philosophy of giving that insight really quickly. We'll reduce another one. A marketing one will come out, probably a manufacturing one, a retail one, and they will be helping the customer get to that insight faster.
Yeah. Well, that's terrific. Well, Southard Jones, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show today.
Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thanks for coming on again. And we'll talk to you next time. Okay, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on the world of big data.